Ja, varmt välkomna till Småbolagsdagen. Jag heter Bengt Söderberg och är moderator under den här sessionen. Och jag kommer att leda frågestunden efter föredraget. Och då kan ni som befinner er här i lokalen ställa frågor till föredragshållaren. Och med de orden, eller jag ska först säga att den här presentationen kommer att hållas på engelska. Så sen om ni vill ställa frågor, det kan ni antingen ställa dem på engelska eller ställa dem på svenska, så översätter jag till engelska. Och med de orden vill jag välkomna Chris McKnight, CEO of Copperstone Resources. Chris, very welcome.
Thank you very much, man. Hello. My own board is here 100%. Thank you. Is that it? Okay, it's obviously late in the day. It's been a long day for everyone here, obviously listening to these various presentations. And I don't know whether you've had any exploration presentations yet, but ours is slightly different. Copperstone Resources. We also have the disclaimer, just like Paul did, you know. We're looking in the ground, and we can't guarantee that we're going to find things. So you have to be very cautious of the things that I say here right now. But yeah, in your own time, have a read through our much shorter version of a disclaimer. Our investment case, Copperstone. We're an active Swedish mineral explorer. We have a huge potential for blue sky discoveries. And we have we already have some defined mineral resources already in the company, both compliant according to JORC and also some non-code compliant resources as well. But the big thing is it's the potential for new discoveries that what we are doing at the moment. It's a multi-commodity discovery package. It includes copper, gold, zinc, and silver. We're very bullish about copper, as we've heard recently from others. We believe that there is going to be a huge demand for copper in the years to come, and Sweden is well placed within the market, within the first world market, to develop new resources. But our business is setting out trying to discover those. Prices in the market are going up, and hopefully they will remain stable, certainly through the next cycle. What Copperstone has is an experienced team integrating modern exploration techniques, various geophysical techniques that we now have, geochemical analyses, and various optical techniques that we use down drill holes to help enhance how we understand the ground in our quest to try and find the heart of the system, as we say. We have a board with diverse experience. We got a lot of local heritage, and we have significant ownership of the company on that board, who are here all today. We have good, strong relations with the community. Of course, this is very important if you want to ever develop a discovery upwards through feasibility into a mine. These aspects are really, really crucial. And we have a very strong investor base as well. We have nearly just over 8,000 shareholders on board. And that's been growing strongly since we got going with the porphyry exploration campaign. And as many know, we've been approved a new mining concession called EVA, which is still under review by the government, but it will be resolved reasonably soon, we believe. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run through a number of slides that basically give you a feeling of where the project is, a few market pointers of the team that operates at Copperstone, the permits that we have, and our commodity outlook. Then I'll run through a few slides on the geological setting and the work conducted to date, but I promise not to go into too much geology. I can do a lot of that on some times, I know. We'll have a look at the distribution of the copper, the gold, and the silver mineralization, but really the last slide is the key slide where we believe where we're working to. This thing's a bit dodgy. It kind of works and it kind of doesn't, and it kind of echoes in my ears too. But it's no problem. Moving on. Have you got a new one? You got it? Move it away. Okay. Can you hear me? I just can talk anyways, no problem. Okay, just looking at our performance in the last while, over the last year, we've had a fairly up and then fairly down period through the company, but we trade 242 million shares on NASDAQ First North, and today approximately just above or around 1.15 SEK per share. That is the list of our major shareholders. As you can see, we've got quite a wide distribution with the big institutions here in Stockholm. Looking at the general trends in the market of copper and zinc, you can see that it's on the up, and this has been going on now for a while. As I say, we're bullish, but obviously these are cycles that are happening right now. There is a demand for copper, there's a demand for zinc. Our business is about trying to find these resources here in Sweden, trying to develop them as quick as we can, and the good ones will hopefully go on to become mines of the future. But it's certainly in the upswing at this stage, of course. Yeah, there was another point there actually about that, in that this business of porphyry copper, it's maybe in Sweden, not a lot of people might realize the potential of this style of mineralization. It's a bulk style of mineralization. You don't mine these bodies on a small scale, you mine them on a large scale when you find them. But world over, more than 50% of copper is mined from such deposits. In North America, the copper moly deposits of southwestern part of the US, a huge area for porphyry. Of course, Mongolia is really rocking at the moment. There are some huge discoveries of porphyry there as well. And of course, along the Cordillera of South America, in Peru and Chile, that's sort of the home ground of the major styles of porphyry style mineralization, which I'll explain a little bit just now. Okay, so the top row of people there, we're all in the room. That's the board of the directors that recently formed after our recent AGM in the middle of May. Myself, Nicholas, Michael, Peter, and Anne, we form the board. And I have a management team, and it's not another guy, it's still me on the bottom left down there. Maurice Zongo from Burkina Faso, Carsten Drescher, who's a GIS specialist, and Dave Dodd, who's a geologist that I've known for many years. The four of us have hung out on many a project. Let's go the right way. So where is our project based? Well, it's approximately approximately 100 kilometers west-northwest of Skellefteå, on the Bithynian Bay, in not that far north, but it's just on the inside of Norrbotten. So we're not too far away from some of the existing and the old mines of Boliden. We have no neighbors. There is no existing mines right near us on the property boundaries, but we are in close proximity to a lot of good infrastructure, road and rail. So that bears well for the long term of the future. As Paul was pointing out, to have an infrastructure in place is really quite key to be able to develop these projects long term. So that's where we are located, and what our permit boundary actually looks like. We have approximately 8,000 hectares of land under exploration permits, and also 2 exploration concessions. One is an older one, Svartliden, which is, does this thing work? It's here. It's Svartliden, and we have the Eva concession, which is now awarded, and we're just waiting for final approval now from the government, and then we can get on with that. And then we have in red the various exploration concessions that go around that. So we're working central to that area, as you can see, and we have no natural neighbors. We have no large lakes except up in the north, and we're not really working anywhere near there. So it's in a very nice landscape, let's say. It's commercially forested landscape, and we have good relations with our neighbors and also the local community and the Samibi as well. Not too far up the road, a few hundred kilometers, is Aitik copper mine, the big Boliden mine that's been going since 1968. It's a rather large hole in the ground. It's a style of mineralization that is muted by many to be porphyry style or related to intrusions. Copper mineralization that is formed along big fault zones and in mass. And that mine, of course, as you all know, has been going on for many a decade now. Not too far away as well, we have the Lava resource. It's also a Boliden-owned project. It's also in the region of about 1 billion tons, which is a fair amount of rock. It's pretty low grades, but it's a porphyry, and it's a defined porphyry. So these are early days, and outside of Boliden, I don't know whether many people have really bothered to look for these. It's been an idea that we sort of put in place ourselves, and then yeah, we've kind of followed our own storyline to a large extent in developing this, and it's new for Sweden. And I think as we work out the geology, we're also beginning to work out why this potential really does exist in this part of the world. It's brand new geology, let alone brand new mineralization that we're discovering. So if you look at the geological map in this area, there is a central area that you can see that we've highlighted there. That's the so-called, or the famous Skellefteå field, and it contains many of the smaller massive sulfide deposits that have been mined down the decades by Boliden. And our project lies to the north of that. You can see the red circle at the top there. That's where we are there. That's north of a circular structure called Galliauer. And it's in an area that is mapped as volcanic rocks of a particular type of chemistry, and it's surrounded by large amounts of granite, which is the various dark reds and browns that you can see on the map there. And the blue is sedimentary rocks. They are particularly old rocks. They're around 1.8 billion years old. So they've been around a bit, and they're a bit deformed, and they take some time to get to understand. But we've got a new understanding that is developing around around that area of our project. That is for sure. Okay, moving along. So the thing about copper is that there is, as I said to you earlier, most of these large-scale copper deposits are formed around and associated with very large igneous intrusions, or igneous events. And within those igneous events, you have very discrete bodies called stocks, which has nothing to do with the thing that you invest in. That's a geological term as well, of a rather upright standing tall column of magma. But what these intrusives do is they cook up the rocks. They come in at great temperature. So when you actually examine geology, if you're on the hunt for styles of mineralization, you're going to be looking out for the effects of hydrothermal alteration. And since I started looking at this project, it must have been 2013 now, I started looking at all the old drill cores, and I thought, wow, there is so much hydrothermal alteration here. There's got to be something going on here. Then more than meets the eye, more than the legacy that was left behind by Boliden and then by Lundin, the previous explorers of these properties, you know. So we've looked at it on all scales: chemical, geological, macro, micro, even thin sections, you know, taking little slivers of rocks and looking at them under the microscope. And on all levels, we see this hydrothermal activity going on, preserved in these rocks. It's fossilized, basically. So we've conducted a fair amount of work to date. As I say, I've been involved with this project, or it started up with this since 2013. We really got going with it. And then by 2015, we were drilling. What's happened since in the last couple of years is we've redone a lot of the geophysics. Geophysics is a listening device into the ground. There are a number of different techniques: magnetics, electromagnetics. One can look at chargeability. One can look at resistivity and conductivity. None of these images or none of these products that you get are perfect. None of them tell you exactly where something is. You have to have a geological model as well. So throughout the time of developing an understanding of the geophysics, we've also been building our case for this porphyry style of mineralization as the logical explanation for the hydrothermal effects and the various deposits and veins and what you find on the property. So the map on the left basically shows the underlying magnetics with some of our electromagnetic data on top. You'll see a lot of drill holes there. Those are not all ours. I mean, I'll show you very shortly what has been done. So what we did is we did some ground magnetics, and we did this program of geophysical study called magnetotellurics. It's natural source audio magnetotellurics, or NSAMT, as you can see there. This was an attempt by us to see deep into the earth. This is a technique that allows us to see down to approximately 1 kilometer. That allows us to try and work out the bulk geological structure and make our interpretations on that and then do some drilling. So we've done that. When I inherited this project in the beginning, there was already 247 boreholes drilled here. And that was 34 kilometers of drilling. So why didn't they find it? Well, I wish they were here to answer that, to be honest. But the previous explorers had a view. They had a different business plan. They had a very shallow view. So they were drilling holes looking for very specific small styles of mineralization. And they were actually analyzed in different areas. As you can see, there are groupings of drill holes on the plan. So the coherency in the geological understanding didn't really come through, in my opinion. So you'll see a lot of drill holes, a lot of them done by Boliden and then by Lundin. So far, since I've been present, we're now going to be doing up to 25 drill holes. And by the time this year's campaign that we're currently working with right now is complete, we will have nearly 7,500 more meters in that. And that'll bring us up to approximately 12,000 meters of drilling invested by Copperstone on this property. So we're getting there. The picture is beginning to evolve quite nicely now. And we're currently drilling, as everybody knows. So, yeah, those are the numbers. I've just been going through there, but you can see that already on the property there's 46,000 meters of drilling, but yet no one has yet found the porphyry on this property. It was only this year that we managed to find the first signs of it close in, this potassic alteration, which I'll talk to you about shortly. The mineralizations on the property are quite impressive in a number of locations. There is also a pattern of what metals you find where. Further in the south near Eva, there is a lot of zinc and gold. And if you go to the northern parts of the area, which we call Grandleden Hill, you find a lot more copper and almost no zinc, for example. So the table on the right here basically shows you some of the intercepts, either drilled by, well, most of them are drilled by others. And there's some pretty impressive values that you can see there. In the north, there is no zinc in Grandleden Hill, as you can see, and further down, there's some good values of zinc and copper as well. But most of the copper is located in the northern parts of the area, the clean copper, as we call it. That's a map that just shows the distribution of the copper grades per drill hole. The bigger the circle, the more copper that you find at that particular drill hole location. So you can see the distribution of copper is in these clusters, and that should be that's the gold. You can see all the gold down here at Eva, and less gold up in the north. And then lastly, the zinc, which is obviously very rich down at Eva and hardly any up in the north. This is a pattern, and this pattern needs an explanation. The question, why? What's going on? So we've been making a great progress in actually piecing together the shapes of these intrusions. And the long and the short of it is down in the southeast, Eva is actually the roof of a very large intrusion. And its edges go all the way around the edge of the property up to the north. And on its interior, you find discrete intrusions, younger ones, that actually carry the copper mineralization, the so-called porphyries. So this year, the drilling campaign has been going along quite nicely. We've got a great drill hole at the moment that is currently being assayed. We're just about to get the results for that shortly, drill hole 359. And this is probably, in my drilling experience in this project and looking at all the historic drilling, it's one of the best lengths of mineralization that we've drilled, 84 meters. And you'll see the depth pretty far, 3/4 of a kilometer down a drill hole. That's a long way. It's not vertically that length because the drill holes are on an angle, but we are beginning to demonstrate without question now, the scale of the system. It takes many drill holes to work out how much copper is in the ground. You need to have lots of holes all together. But we are certainly opening up the scale of this system now, and it's really pointing to one only candidate as to how this has been formed, and that's this porphyry style. The first 2 drill holes of this year, we also, for the first time on this property, we found pink rocks. Pink because it's a mineral called orthoclase, and it's a feldspar. And within the porphyry copper mineralization system, it's a key indication of early stage alteration. It's high temperature alteration. And despite all those hundreds of drill holes that you saw in those plans, not one of them, and I logged all of this drill core myself with my own hands, not one of them actually found any of this potassic alteration. And it's the thing that around the world, if you go visit PDAC, or if you go to Vancouver, or if you go down to Sydney to any of the events where all the exploration geos gather, it's what they talk about. You want to find porphyry, you have to find this potassic style of alteration. And when you do, it's somewhere right nearby you. And then you have to then do your looking. But that's the main thing. It's the central point of the system. So we were really excited in the beginning of this year when we found it for the very first time. And it's not just 1 or 2 meters. It's like 3/4 of a kilometer of drilling of this style of alteration. We also study the geochemistry as well, and we look at various ratios of trace elements, and it's all commiserate, basically, with this porphyry style system. So we're very much on the cutting edge, if you like, of trying to open up this the style for Sweden exploration in the future, for sure. So just looking at the map here, this is the northern area where we've been focusing on. The red dots is where we've been drilling holes, and these are the directions of the drill holes that have been done so far this year. There's drill hole 59, and that's some of the mineralization that we found in it, which is looking pretty good. Yeah, that's also with all the geophysical overlaps and overlays and trying to work out what is what. I'll come to the last slide, and then you can see the interpretation. That probably tells you everything about what these dotted lines are all about. But we have various magnetic receptors, we have conductors, we have resistors in the blue, and they all mean something. So it's about building a good interpretation of these patterns. Okay, so moving along. Okay, that was the ground magnetics. Let's just move back onto the sort of the interpretation of where we're at in the northern area. We've been looking around in the south. It's where that first couple of drill holes that found the potassic alteration. We've been drilling north. We've been drilling to the west, deep underneath this cluster of shallow drill holes. We found some very good deep mineralization below all of that, but it points. This is all point. The big conductor lies on this boundary here between the big porphyry body to the west and the lavas and sediments to the east. And we're zooming in on this kind of area here now. So this is where our current work is taking place. Overlaying, looking at some of these geophysical plots that we have. This one shows the conductivity in purple. This is the sort of high-lying area that we're now trying to zoom in on. Yeah, that just sort of highlights those areas of strong conductivity that we've got. The mineralization is bound between big structural zones. It's another key point to finding porphyry-style mineralization. You have to have large fault zones up which intrusions can come along. And we have a number of these features that you can see in this project. So we have major structures. We also have yet more geophysical overlaps and overlays kind of zooming in and coming together for us. And we also have our alteration, as I was telling you. And obviously then we have this overall interpretation. So what I'll show you now is how we see it. And that's really what it's all about. It takes me a long time to get to one slide. But really, this is the picture at the end of the day. We have a major contact between a very large body. This body that you see in yellow here, I don't know if any of you have ever visited Sumatra, northern Sumatra. You have a very famous volcanic feature called Toba, which blew up about 76,000 years ago and nearly wiped out human history. Right in the middle of this is a very large island, and that island is risen up because of a bulge that has occurred after this caldera development. It's called a resurgent dome. And we believe that this yellow body, way beyond our project, is actually part of a big resurgent dome within a caldera that's never been recognized yet in northern Sweden. But associated with that, it's emplaced against its older lavas and sediments to the east side on our particular property, but there are these intrusions that are coming up late stage into this. And they bring in the copper mineralization, and the copper mineralization is spread out. It's intrusion related. So what did Boliden found? They found the leakage veins at the top. What did we just find? We drilled holes down here. We found these deeper bodies. They're leading us in. Some of the geophysics is picking up the roof of this. We're currently drilling holes from this side, and we're aiming right at that right now. So stand by. Follow our journey. So hopefully we will find this. And yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. We will now go to a question and answer session. And I have one question here right at the beginning. The drilling you're doing now is you are targeting this one of those two mother lodes, or what do you call them?
That's right, yes.
When do you think you will reach that drilling target, and when do you expect results from what you have seen there?
Well, we'll find it obviously before the market knows about that, because we obviously have to find it before we can assay for it. But we would expect to drill it within the next couple of months.
To start drilling it, or is it?
We should find it if it's in that location.
Yes.
But I mean, that's our interpretation. Maybe we drill some holes and we have to move a bit left or right. We have a number of targets on the property. It's not the only one, but this is one of the best looking targets that we're working on right now. So I would say realistically, 2 to 3 months. Within 3 months, the market should know what we have found there.
Okay, so the drilling is ongoing.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah, we only managed to achieve around 30 odd meters a day, so it takes quite a while to get to 3/4 of a kilometer. You know, we have 2 rigs on the property working as well. But yeah, it's happening. It's live.
Yeah.
So as soon as we have the results, it will be announced. Yeah.
And what kind of depth are you targeting then? Was it 800 meters or?
Yeah, we drill down at 800 meters. It's basically like a standing back effect. If you drill holes to only 100 meters, it's really hard to see the big picture. I think our drill hole 59 was a good case in point. We found mineralization to 200 meters approximately, and then we carried on down. But because we were working on a geological model, we were able to continue because we had belief or faith, or we had an understanding of what we were aiming at. So we took it all the way down, and sure enough, when we got there, we found what we were looking for. If you didn't have a model, you would get down 300, 400, 500 meters and there'd be no copper mineralization. Your boss would say, stop the drill hole. So if you don't have a model, or you don't have a framework in which you can work, you're pretty much alone, you know. So the idea of going these lengths, and you can see actually from our averages, the depth that we drill, is we're trying to see this property on the biggest scale possible. Because if you're going to find an elephant, you have to stand back. You can't have your face up against it. You won't see it. And I believe that may have been the problem in the past.
Okay. So you do have any questions from the audience? Yes?
Do you have any plans to apply for starting a mine?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, we have to find it first. You mean on the porphyry copper? When? It won't be this week or next month, or it's going to take a number of drill holes. I mean, to be able to apply for a mining concession, you need to have a certain level of resource development done already. You need indicated resources, at least a small portion of it anyway. So I would say porphyry coppers is a fairly long adventure. We have other projects that we can start to develop already, coming soon. Eva, for example, that's a potential new small-scale mine, which we will look at when all the paperwork is now complete. But a porphyry deposit is probably somewhere around about 4 or 5 years, something like that, before you can really say that you're going to go make a mine. It's going to take exploration and feasibility. It's a long road ahead. Yeah. They're not small deposits.
This potassic alteration you're talking about, where does that occur? Is it deep down, or where did you find it? That indicates that this might be a porphyry discovery.
Well, it was actually 110 meters down on the very first hole in early January of this year. So it wasn't far away. It was just because nobody had drilled a hole there. So in assembling all the bits of evidence, when we try to locate it, we drilled it the first time, and we thought, wow, this is a granitic rock that is most likely the cause of this copper mineralization around it. So it wasn't deep. It was just about using brains and trying to work out where things are and saying, well, that's the most likely point. So yeah, we were very pleased.
Okay. Yeah. And do we have any more questions from the audience? Well, unfortunately, we have run out of time. It was a very interesting presentation, and thank you very much for the
pleasure.